evening to everybody. First of all, I want to say thank you for inviting me, for making this presentation. I really hope that the things that I share here can be helpful for you in this course that you are taking. So I'm going to share the slides now. It takes a minute, I think, but wait. Para tirar, chicos.
Enma, I can do it for you if you want to. At least that's what.
No, it's thank you. It always takes time, but that
Yeah.
it is
No,
it
take
is
your time.
converting now. Thank you. Yeah. 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 I think everybody can see the slide now. If you don't see, please let me know. Well,
It's okay.
yeah, thank you. Well, I'm going to start the presentation. As Martin already said, I am from Ecuador. I have been in Belgium doing some research, and I think it's interesting to share some of the main aspects of the education system of Ecuador. And as Martin already told you, you can always interrupt if you want to clarify something that for me, perhaps it can be obvious, but not for you. So you can feel free to interrupt whenever you need some clarification. I'm going to start the presentation with an overview of the country and the general context, a bit of history, and then I will start with the characteristics of education system and some particular aspects of the education system. As you can see in the slide that I'm sharing, you see some facts, basic background information. Perhaps you know, I don't know if some of you have had the opportunity to visit the country, but well, I share these basic facts so you can have an idea. In terms of languages, we have the Spanish language as the official language, but we also have a term called official intercultural languages, which is the Quechua and Shuar, which is also sometimes a bit problematic here because the other nationalities, we had 14 nationalities, they claim, they complain, and they say why they don't speak in my language and only Quechua and Shuar. So they see like the colonial language to the Quechua and Shuar, no? So, well, that's not my decision. I'm just sharing the fact. Well, we have a majority of people is Christian, Catholic, and Protestantism. We are a republic since 1822. But actually, we became an independent republic since 1830. I'll show you in a moment. So I will continue to the next slide, and you will see like three phases of what now is the Ecuadorian territories. Well, before the Inca Empire, there were many tribes here in the territories of Ecuador, but from 1460 until 1532, part of the territories of what is Ecuador now were conquered by the Inca Empire. Perhaps you have heard about the Tahuantinsuyo. That was the name of all the territories that were conquered or were under the power or rule by the Inca. So after that, you see in the map, you see that the Tahuantinsuyo covered part of Ecuador, part of Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, and even the north of Argentina. Well, after that, there is a second phase about the history of the country. Then we have the colonial era from 1533 to 1822. We were invaded by the Spanish, and then after that period there was an independence, and we became free from the Spanish in 1822. But after 1822, the ideals of Bolivar and his followers were to create a big country in Latin America. So there was created a new country called La Gran Colombia, which covered what is Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, and Ecuador. But it only lasted until 1830 because there were some problems, disagreements about power, about how to administer that big country. So you see this in the third picture. So it got dissolved. So in 1830, Ecuador started its republican life. And it's similar. I was when I saw that Belgium also had started as being a republic in 1830. I think I read. So I found interesting that the two countries have the same age. Well, I'm going to continue here. Well, before I want to make a kind of parenthesis here. Just a brief one, because I'm not going to get into the history. I just thought that it was interesting. If we are talking among educators, I think it's interesting to see this. Before the pre-Columbian times, there were also some ways of making education in the territories of Ecuador. In the Inca, during the Inca Empire, we have what we can call now schools, or a way of conceiving them. They were named the Chaiwasi. You see, the house of wisdom, were for men. You see the age from 13 to 19, and the teachers in those times, in those pre-Columbian times, were the amautas, which were considered as a philosopher. There was also another figure of a teacher, which I cannot pronounce, but it's like Harawek. It was conceived of as a poet, if we want to translate it, no? Also for women, there was a kind of institution that was not actually like a school, but was meant, or was thought to train women to do some things like sewing clothes, weaving clothes, to prepare them or to teach them to organize the ceremonies for the sun. And women were brought there under the age of 8. Sorry. So and I show this because for me, when I was reading that, it was interesting to see that the words, other forms of making education. It's not like the education system that we have now. There was a kind of education system, and for me, I found it very interesting, the fact that the way the teacher was conceived of. Okay, okay. The next slide. Well, also there was another phase. That was the colonial phase, the colonial era. In that colonial era, we had a strong influence of Catholicism. You see the Spanish presence caused that the education had a strong influence of Catholic Church. But what is relevant for this period is that there was a mestizo called Eugenio Espejo, he was kind of inspired in the Enlightenment. It was at the end of the 18th century. So he was like ahead of his time, and he was making some critical observations to the system of that time, criticizing the church, the Jesuitas, the job of the Jesuitas, which he was very critical against the clergy, and he proposed some education that was like that was more contribute more to equality between indigenous people and Creole people. Creole was the Creole is the term used to white people or to the children, to those born from the Spanish people, but in local territories. We say criollo. So Eugenio Espejo was very critical and saying, okay, we should, our education system should be more critical, should be more, provoke more equality between those different groups. So, and that's the reason that I wanted to mention something about Eugenio Espejo. And in the Republican times, you see, I just told you that from 1822, we got the independence from the Spanish, but we were annexed to the Gran Colombia, the big country. And during those 8 years that we were part of the Gran Colombia, we inherited some ideas of that big country, and those were ideas that were not only present here in the region, but they were ideas circulating around the world, and like the traveling policies of the time. So we inherited the Lancasterian system from well, that was an English, the proposal of an English educator. And then, well, it's kind of, we passed by or our education system was informed or was introduced into several currents of thought about education of those times. No, we also, after the Lancasterian system, we experienced a period of where the education system was in hands of the church. And after that, there was a liberal revolution, and then it became liberal, so education became lay. So there were struggles there between people. No, someone wanted to continue to being a Catholic, the education to be under the church, but the others wanted to keep liberal. So then, as time passed by, they were founded pedagogic institutes. Pestalozzi ideas were introduced, but not really implemented. According to what I have read, because I did not live in that time, but according to what I have read, it was just at the level of discourse, but not really his ideas were not really introduced completely or implemented in the education system. Also, there was an influence of German pedagogic mission and hereditarian pedagogy. Also, the influence of New School, active school. And so that's an overview of how the system evolved since pre-Columbian times until Republican times, no? Okay, now from 1930, we are presidential. We have a presidential government. We elect a government, so a president. So, yeah, I think that's clear. Well, also I want to show some basic facts of the last century of Ecuador, because I think we cannot disconnect the direction of our education system from that history, from that recent past. So I just highlight, included not all the aspects, but some main aspects that I think were mark the educational context of the time. In general, I can say that we can see the recent past of the education system like in two big groups. There were some policies and some programs, and there was a period of time like 1940s to 1990 in which the preoccupation of the different presidents or different governments of the time was more to have access. So they were worried for people to go to primary school, for more people to go to secondary school, because not everybody went to school at those times. So and also they were worried because there was a strong migration from the countryside to the cities. So they really focus on the access, on policies that allow access to prevent or to stop that strong wave of migration from countryside to the city. In those times, in 1970s, there was the petroleum boom. So in Ecuador, there was more money to invest in infrastructure, in new teachers, in many other things that could not be done before because of we were not, our economy was not based on export of petroleum until 1970. So there was a petroleum boom, and then there was more money to invest in education. But at the same time, there was a preoccupation on those times, on those decades, because there were some anti-communist movements, and education again was used to foster those anti-communist movements, because in the region, you know, there was a strong tendency to adopt that ideology. So in the recent past, that was the last decade and the first years of the new century, we had a serious political and economic crisis. I just mentioned in the slide that we had in a period of 10 years, we had 7 presidents, and there were overthrows, and it was really a crisis. It was not only political, it was economic. We passed to be a dollarized country due to the devaluation of our currency, our local currency. And this is also one thing that really caused a preoccupation in the people was that the banks, so not all banks, but some banks closed the doors and didn't give back the money to the people who had the money in their accounts. So and then many people lose their savings of all their life, and well, there were very sad stories. And that also, together with all the crisis caused that many people emigrated. And in the 60s, the migration had been focused on the United States. But in this, at the end of the 1990, 1999, 2000, year 2000, most of the people immigrated towards Italy and Spain, because at those times we didn't have the requirement to present a visa. We just could take the flight and go. So after in the year 2003, we already had to present and to get the visa to go to Europe. So, but it was, I just mentioned this because the situation was very, very hard in my neighborhood. For example, many families left, many houses were empty. I was a bit sad, and well, I think it's important to see this recent history to understand like a kind of evolution. Sometimes I see like a cycle, and I don't know how you see this from there, no? But that will be interesting to hear you later, to how you see from far these things that I'm telling you about Ecuador. Now, I just 2 more facts. From 2007 and until 2017, we had a government. Perhaps you heard Rafael Correa, president, who's more inclined to the ideas of the 21st century socialism. There were leftist ideas, and there were many reforms. I will tell you later some of the things that were done in that period of time. But now, well, the period of government ended in 2017, and then we had a new president who was more oriented to right-wing ideology, and now recently in this year we elected a new president which is even more oriented to right-wing ideology. So I think many changes are taking place, and we can discuss about that later on when we have the opportunity to talk. So the next is, well, I already said this, I will skip this slide. Well, I have made a summary here. I can share you the slides because I'm not going to read all what is here. Excuse me, someone wants to say something? No? Okay, so what you see here is like the basic is what the Constitution that was built or was elaborated in the year 2008 says about the education. Well, education is seen as a right in that document. They put it as a right, which it's funded with permanent incomes. Public debt must be funded, only is allowed to invest in infrastructure. Schools can be public, private, and fiscal missional. I have a table later that I will show you. It's compulsory school and not school education, and considers the right of people to learn in its own language. Well, these are the main aspects. There are many things about education, but I just made the summary. Okay, I'll continue with the next slide. In Ecuador, starting to speak about the system itself, I have to say that we have two, we call regimes. I don't know why, but we call régimen Sierra y régimen Costa. That's the academic period, so I could translate in that way. So we have two academic periods, one from June to September to June, and one from April to January. They said that they use this calendar or these different academic years in different regions because of the amount of rain that we have in the coast side in the years from February, March, April. So they want to avoid children to be exposed because sometimes the flood is very strong. So I don't know if there is another reason for that, but that was the one. That is the one that I have always heard. Okay, so we have 200 days of classes each academic year. They are divided in 5-month terms. We call it quimester, 5 months. 5 months, 2 periods of 5 months, so 10 months a total. Okay, we have school education and non-school education. You see the levels in the school education: initial, with early childhood related to that, basic, and high school level. And we have a national curriculum. And in non-school education, we have training that does not lead to a diploma and does not follow a national curriculum. A bit of information, some information about the levels. Initial education, it's offered by the state to children from 3 to 5. So the state says, okay, from 3 years old on, I am responsible, and I have I have to make sure that you send children to school. But from 0 to 3, they said, okay, the family is more responsible of the education of those children from 0 to 2. Although they have daycares, public daycares, not many, but they try to organize something to help families in this that have children with this age. Okay, and then general basic education. It's the basic education level. We have 10 years. So children enter the general basic education level at 5, and they end that level at the age of 15. But that's only general basic education level. They have sub-levels. But then it comes the high school level. We call it bachillerato. I didn't find the right way to translate. So the best way to translate that I found it is high school level. So after the 10 years of basic education, you have 3 more years, which is the high school. Yeah. And then usually children have between 15 and 18. Some of them leave school at 17, 17 and a half, 18. So we have, they have a common core, so they have subjects. They see the same subjects, to say that, and then they can opt or they can choose from a trajectory in science and a trajectory more technical, vocational, with vocational orientation to prepare them to enter the labor market. Okay. I will show you a picture later about this, how it is organized, but for the moment I'm going to move. I already said this. We also, for early school leavers, they are not in the same schools with children between 3 and 18. So there is another program called ABC program for people who have left school and wants to continue its studies in being adult. The system is organized at 3 levels. In the picture that you see that I'm showing now, you see another level, this circuit, this one that is in purple color. But I just put it because I didn't find a new one, because this level has been deleted. Now we only have the central level, that is the Ministry of Education, the zonal level, and the district level. So we don't have circuits anymore according to the new reform. In the central level, you see that they are in charge of the educational policy, to control, to regulate, to make the national planning, all the programs that are implemented in the public system. At the some level, they implement that policy. They make the planning for the zone, and the district level is the one who is in charge of provision of teachers, look at the adequate infrastructure, equipment, the attention for people who wants to do so, to change from one school to another, so attending to parents. So all that job is in the hands of the district at the district level. Okay, you see a map. As I told you, I will try to go fast because otherwise I cannot cover all the content that I want to share, but I can all share you the slides. You see how the zones are organized. We have 9 zones in all the territory. Okay, the number of students, I have included a table here. I have divided by type of funding. You have public schools, and I will come back to that later. For the moment, I'll just say the number. You have public, private, municipal, and fiscal commissional schools, and the total of students that we have in our system is 4,003,777. You see the total here, and this is, if you study the slide later, you see the distribution in terms of ethnic distribution: mestizo, indigenous, Montubio, Afro, white. You see. I have included the information about the promotion rate, and I have included the history from 2019 until 2021. But I will say now that, well, at the current time, the promotion rate is 97.52. So also the no promotion rate 2021 is 0.70%, and the The dropout rate for this year is 1.77%. Yes, you have a question?
Yes, it's Martin. Can you go back? The dropout rate, it's at the age of 18 or?
Here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
No, dropout is people that leave school at any age or at any school age from 3 to 18.
Okay, like that. Okay.
Yeah, early school leavers.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So teachers also, we have a table here. It is distributed. We have a total of 206,875 teachers. They're public, private, municipal, and fiscal commissional. I will say something later about this distribution. The number of schools that we have, I have included here this picture. We have 16,209 schools by the year 2021. You see that there is a decrease in the number of schools, and it is related to the policy of the previous government, who the former president, one of the things that he wanted to do is to close smaller schools and create big schools called schools of millennium. So he said, okay, let's close all these schools and make big schools with all the nice infrastructure, with libraries and all what the children need, because the other schools were very poor, he said, and then that's the reason. But that's not the only reason, because we don't have many escuelas del milenio, millennial schools. Another reason is that in the former government of Presidente Correa, there was a kind of, he tried to implement a kind of competition between private and public. Normally, everybody in Ecuador will say, okay, yeah, some private schools are much better than public schools, because parents pay a lot of money to buy good education for their children. So they can do that, and they have good education. But in the period of Correa, he tried to make it very competitive, and so he to the private schools that were not very rich, and they were very they were not very strong. They did not pass the evaluation of the ministry, and if they did not fulfill all the standards that the Ministry of Education asked them, they couldn't continue. So many private schools that were not very expensive were closed, and all those people moved to the public system, because he was also trying to opening to make it better, the educational offer of the public educational offer. And then he used to say, okay, I want to create a competition between private and public. Okay, even with teachers in the public schools, also with these former presidents, the salary improved. So teachers that were working in private schools were earning an average of $400 a month. But with this new policy, I will show you the policies later, teachers earned around $800. So the salary was twice in the public schools. So some teachers from private schools were looking forward to work in public schools. So, and the number of schools also, in terms of the distribution of intercultural schools, well, I have translated this as mainstream schools because there can be confusing if you say intercultural, bilingual, intercultural. So the first column here is mainstream schools or mestizo school or Spanish speaking schools, and intercultural bilingual refers to the educational offer to the schools that are provided in indigenous communities in their own language. Yeah. So you see the distribution here in the year 2021. The mainstream schools were 14,000 and the intercultural 1,718. So you see the percentage here. So now we have 16,000 schools. Internet connections, I just considered that it was interesting to have this information today also. This is the level of now this color, this green color shows the increase in connectivity from the year 2009, 1890 until the year 2021. You have 48.50% of a connection of schools, not of families or at homes, but of schools, which, as you can see, there is not even 50%. So this is one of the concerns on educators here in Ecuador, because you see, with the COVID crisis, it has been difficult to organize education in some contexts where there is no internet at home, no money to buy balance, and no internet at school. So that was a challenge. In terms of budget, I just show you this. I have information. I found information of the executed budget until the year 2015. This is the total of budget executed in the sector of education. Well, I have included here some challenges, like this is in relation to what we do at the University for Educators and National University of Education, but also what the statistics and the tests and all the results of evaluation says, that we have a serious problem with the academic level of high school leavers and what the university is doing. And sometimes it's very problematic at the level of university, having to come back to teach the very basic of, sometimes even at the level of primary school. So this is a challenge for all universities, not only for the university where I am working for, no, but for all universities. Try to make a balance, to make a good transition from high school to university. Otherwise, the university has to come back to compensate for those things that they need to reinforce or to level up. The reduction of budget for higher education is other of the concerns or challenges. The status of the teacher profession. There was a policy also in the previous presidents to increase the status by raising the salary. As I told you, before 2007, the salary of a teacher was like between 200 and 400. But after that policy, they earn an average of 100. But you will see later a table. I'm going fast. Well, I'm not going to go deeper in this, but I just wanted to show you how the curriculum is organized by levels. The level that you are seeing here is the preparatory level of the general basic education, which I told you have 10 years. Yeah, this is the general one of the sub-level. You see the curriculum is organized in terms of areas and have two subjects. You see the subjects here and the areas here, and a total of 35 pedagogic hours. And also we have the curriculum at general basic education at the elementary, middle, and higher level. All these are included in the 10 years of general basic education. So you see also areas in this side and subjects in this side: language, maths, social sciences, natural sciences, cultural and artistic education, physical education, and English. And you see the amount of hours, but you can see, if you want, you can study later on this information that I'm sharing. And in the high school level, you see the tronco común, the common core that I said before, and all the students see these subjects, and they have the specialization in sciences here, where I'm showing. They have additional subjects, 15 more hours, and specializations, technical specializations, which prepare them more for the labor market, and they have this amount of hours. Also, we have the curriculum here is organized at the central level. The Ministry of Education, the Department of Curriculum is in charge of organizing or controlling the implementation of the national curriculum. It was the last reform we had was in the year 2016. They participated some consultants. There is a teacher network and the people from the Ministry of Education, and they prepared this national curriculum. And I show you here the levels of the curriculum. Here you see first level, which is this is the macro level, the Ministry of Education, who says this curriculum is compulsory for all levels, for all the schools. It doesn't matter if they are private, public, they have the national curriculum. Okay, and that's what the Ministry of Education at the macro level says. But they propose, the Department of Curriculum said, at the meso level, it is flexible, because this is only a framework, they said, and at the schools, at the meso level, you have to make a curricular project every year, and you have to make your own curricular project, and then you can have some flexibility. Taking the framework of the national curriculum, you can have some flexibility. And they also said, okay, teachers at the schools, they have the curriculum in the classroom, they make the lesson plans, they make curriculum adaptations, and then they also have flexibility. But then I cannot say really that it happens as they propose, because when you talk to teachers, to classroom teachers, they say, no, we don't have flexibility, everything is imposed, the book says everything, we don't have space for anything. So I'm just saying, no, this is what the curricular department proposed, but what the teacher said sometimes is not the same as it is proposed. And the curriculum is organized in terms of similar to competences, but they say destrezas con criterio de desempeño. It's like an orientation to do something with the knowledge. It's similar to the term competences, but I wouldn't say that is the exact translation. And yeah, I already said this about the yeah. Now we come to the question of who funds and how is funding organized. Earlier in this presentation, I said that we have public schools, private schools, fiscommissional and municipal schools. Public schools are the ones that are totally funded by the state. So as I read in the previous slide, I said the Constitution said the education is a right, and the state guarantees free education until the third level, until university level. So how it is funded with the general state budget, we have the figure called the permanent incomes, which is the taxes there are many taxes here. The VAT, the income tax that you pay every year, the VAT that you pay with all your purchases that you do every day, customs fees when you want to import something, foreign currency outflow tax, that is when you send money abroad, they charge a tax on that, and there are others, but I'm not going to include all others. And there is also we have also the figure of non-permanent incomes, which is the money that comes to the country because of the export of petroleum, the sales of assets, the loans that we are we're recognized for making loans to the international agencies. So well, that's with that money, that's money comes from those sources, the money to pay for public schools. Private schools, they are the schools that are paid by parents. You see, I have included some information here. There are schools in which you can pay $2,100 a month, but there are schools which are very expensive where you can pay even $1,000 a month. So there are many kinds of private schools. Not because you say private schools is a school for rich people. No, there are many poor people sending children to private schools, and the fee is very low. And then also the municipality schools, they are funded by the municipality. The mayor is in charge of the creation of these schools, and they are funded also with money from the state. But we have the figure of GATS. It's called autonomous government. So every province has a GAT, that is an autonomous government, and the central state give money to the autonomous provinces, and they invest that money that the municipal school use to set schools. But that's not very common. The most common are the private and the public. And fiscommissional schools are the schools that are organized by the initiative of organizations, for example, a church, the police, ONG, well, the civil society organization. And sometimes the organization said, okay, I put the infrastructure, I put all the program, the everything, but then I need that's the state to put the teachers. Or sometimes they ask for more money to the state. So this is a combination of an organization and the state. And in the law, they said that when these fiscommissional schools receive money from the state, they need to make sure that the education is lay, that they have equal opportunities, they have good results. So all of them, regardless of the funding or the source of funding, they are regulated, they are supervised by the state. In the state and the central level, there is an organization called, there is a unit in at the central level of the Ministry of Education that is called the Directorate for the Regulation of Education. So they control a private, public, fiscommissional. For example, they control the fees, because the private schools have categories. You cannot charge $1,000 for a school that doesn't offer at least good infrastructure. So that's regulated, but that directorate that depends of the ministry, the central level of the Ministry of Education. And you see, I already said this. I have some. These are the schools that I said, the schools of Millennium. That was an initiative of the former government of Rafael Correa. And these are pictures of how they look like. There were also some tensions at the time of Correa, but now people are saying that they were a waste of money. They call white elephants, and well, there are people who is speaking in favor of them, against them, and we can discuss when we have the questions. We can discuss more about this. How I see them. Okay, and this I show this contrast because of the tensions that I say, one of the things that people that is critical of this school is saying you have poor people here, like the ones that I'm showing you, and then you have these kind of luxury schools. And they were complaining because not all the schools were equal, and there's a lot of difference in lack of resources in some poor schools, and that's not fair, they argued. And yeah, how is the access regulated? You have free choice in private schools. With private schools, you can, with your money, you can go and pay the school that you prefer. And the public schools had a zoning strategy, which means that the school is assigned based on the place where you lived. But in the crisis, in the COVID crisis of the last year, they were more flexible and they allowed people to choose the schools. So the only criteria was first come, the one who comes first, the one who takes the school, and if you were late, you didn't find a school close to your place. So that was the way they organized last year. And Martin, excuse me, I think I already complete the 50 minutes time. Should I stop or can I continue?
For me, it's okay to continue, let's say, for about 10 minutes, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you. If everybody agrees, I can continue. Okay. Okay. In terms of school organizations, I already said something about these debates and challenges. Now they are closing. They are closing. They are reopening the rural schools, the poor schools, like the ones that I show you here, for example. I'll come back. I'm sorry. This one, for example, these are rural schools. They are reopening these rural schools because they said that they didn't work. The Escuelas del Milenio didn't work. There was too much money invested. Yeah, people was not happy with that. Some people, no. So, and then there is a strong debate about how to consider rural schools. Should and there are strong positions. For example, should offer to rural schools the luxury of escuelas del milenio, or should we, as they are, I repeat what I have heard in the discussions, should they, as they are indigenous, usually keep with the poor schools because that's the culture, that's the way they like to live. So that there is a strong debate in relation to that. And competition between private and public, I don't think it's very strong now as it used to be some years ago. Quality and quality control, the internal quality control measures. As I told you, there is a Directorate of Regulation of Education. Also, at the central level of the Ministry of Education, we have a unit for that is in charge of auditing and advising schools. That's on the hand of the Ministry of Education. So the auditors go. They pay visits to schools first to make a diagnosis, and they say, okay, this is the level. They use the colors. If your school is in red color, that means that your school is very bad, doing bad. But if you have yellow color, that's better. But if you make green color, that means that everything is fine. So with those colors, with those reports in terms of colors, the advisors visit the schools to provide support, and they talk to the rector, talk to the teachers. They organize pedagogic sessions to see how can the school make improvements in the things that have been observed by the auditor. But this is how it works sometimes, but the problem is that we don't have enough advisors. I mean, written it sounds very nice, but in the practice, not all the schools have that, because there are not many auditors or not many advisors And then I could say that this is only partially implemented. Then we also have the tests called SER, that's a system of evaluation, and teachers and students are evaluated in terms of I will show you here the description. Yeah, here you have the test called Ser Maestro and Ser Estudiante and many other tests called Ser but with different names. But these are the main ones. Ser Maestro is used as a tool to promote. I mean, if you receive a good evaluation, if you have a good score in your test, then you can receive incentives. Okay. Also, if you want to be promoted from one category to another, you have to have good score in the test. Yeah? And we also have the evaluation of Ser Estudiante. That's not that has not implications on the record of the students. It's just a kind of survey that they made to measure the academic achievement of students in those levels. In 4th, 7th, and 10th grade of general basic education, and at the 3rd year of high school level. The structure of teacher education. In terms of teacher education, we have the main offer of teacher education, educational offer is in universities, in faculties of education. We used to have pedagogic institutes, but there was a decree also in the time of President Correa in which they were evaluated and not all passed the evaluation. So now only few operate, and the ones who operate sometimes don't offer careers to be a teacher exactly. They offer careers related to education, but not careers for being a teacher. But only few of them are working. Wait. Yeah. The teacher recruitment, you have two options. If you want to be a teacher in Ecuador, you can have a contract which doesn't offer stability because your contract can finish at any time, so no stability at all, and permanent appointment. If you want to have a permanent appointment, you have to participate in a concurso, in a call. You have to give this test, Quiero Ser Maestro, and they measure your ability in reasoning, knowledge of the discipline, linguistic competence. So there's a competition, and you have to win that position. And yeah, that's difficult. And the offer of the educational offer of teacher education, you have at the undergraduate level, you have 187 careers at the face-to-face modality, and 31 careers at the semi-presential modality, distance modality 20, online 39, hybrid 13. So a total you have 290 careers for teacher education in different universities and faculties. Okay, this is the map where you can see where is the offer located. As you can see here, you see the places, the provinces that you see are in white. That means that there is no educational offer in presential modality in these regions. So you see a great part of the country doesn't have the educational offer in face-to-face modality. You see here, I put this table for you to have an idea of the teaching. We have a teacher scale. So you enter, if you have a degree, a bachelor degree in education, you enter in this category, in the G category, where I'm showing the category G, and your salary to enter is 817. Yeah. But if you have perhaps only a degree that is not a bachelor, it's a third level degree, but not a bachelor degree, you can enter in the J category, earning 527. Or perhaps if you are a professional at the technological level, you enter in the I category, earning 675. And then you can be promoted. So you go from the J to the A, but to reach the salary of 1,676, you have to have 24 years of experience in the teaching career. So that's a lot. And okay, you can check that later, but you can have an idea of the scale and the salary per scale and the requirement to enter that scale. And about the social status of the teacher, also in the previous government, there was an initiative they were trying to raise the status of the teacher. And one of the things that they did was we had to give, all school leavers have to give an exam to enter to the university. So to study medicine, they ask you, you need to have a very high score. Otherwise, you cannot study medicine to be a doctor. So they said, okay, if we need the best for being teachers, the best people to be teachers, we want the best. So teacher cannot be the last options, or someone who doesn't get anything, okay, I become a teacher. They said, no, okay, let's raise the standard for entrance to the teaching career. And they put the score at the same level of medicine. So that was one way of trying to improve the status. Also, they raised the salaries. Also, they created the university where I am working for. That was also part of that policy. And but I could say now that after the years, the status is not very high. The standards have coming down and down. So now you don't need to have 800 points or at the level of medicine. Now you can enter the teaching career in an easy way. So I think what I see is like a cycle. No, there was a period in which they tried to do that. It worked for a moment, but then it's coming back again. And in terms of teachers organizations, we had two teachers organizations. The one, the National Teachers Unions, that was established in 1944. This is it's recognized for its political affiliations, and well, they always organize strikes. They well, they have followers, but also adversaries, because the history they have, no. And there is a new organization called Red de Maestros, which is funded with the previous government of Rafael Correa. And well, in the previous government, they worked better with this teacher union, with the Red de Maestros, and this was very not very active. But now that the president changed, they are very active, and they have retaken power, the power they used to take in the past. And so I think, if I don't want to abuse with the time, so if you allow me, I can stop here.
I think this is the last slide. And the last slide. No, you have two more. I give you 2 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. You see, well, in the past decade, in the year 2007, I said previously that we had a period of very the crisis, the political crisis, lack of stability, everything was a chaos by the 1990s, since 1996 until the year 2005, more or less. So a group of people, well, the government in that time, no, said, okay, let's do something to create public policy, but institutionalize public policy in a way that the policies can be there regardless the government in power. Because I told you, no, we have 7 presidents, and every president changed everything and start from zero, start from scratch. So the agreement was, okay, let's create these policies and make a national referendum. So people voted in the national referendum for these policies. And that was the way to make them institutional. Institutional means that make them survive regardless of the president, because we expected to change presidents every year. So, but fortunately, it was approved in the referendum in 2006 and the new government came. That was the government of Rafael Correa, and he was 10 years. So all these policies that you see here were implemented in the 10 years period of Rafael Correa. I'm not saying that everything was successful, but there were many initiatives and reforms to make this possible. And then see, wait. You see in the right column here, I have included some of the changes that were made in order to be in correspondence with these policies. So there was a new way of organizing the territories, and that was what I showed you earlier when I showed you the zone level, the central level, the zone level, and the district level. That was new. That was introduced in the government of President Correa as part of this strategy. Also, there was a restructuration of the legal framework. To start, there was a change in the constitution. So all the parliament was dissolved. They called to a national referendum, and people agreed to change the constitution. And so we have the constitution, a new constitution in the year 2008. So, and after that, we also had a new law of education, a new outlaw, a new, yeah, we also have a strong, the presence of a strong concept called the buen vivir, which was present in all public policy, because there is a document, an instrument for public policy that we call National Development Plan. And at that time, in the time of that government, that was the key concept in the plan. So all public policy, all the things that they wanted to, all the plans of public institutions had to attach to that notion of buen vivir. Yeah. And the notion of buen vivir was inspired in the in the ideas that were against the notion, the mainstream notion, the mainstream way we understand development. With buen vivir, development is understood not in economical terms, but in a way of living, in the relation with nature. And if you want, we can talk about that concept later. But all public policy had to be inscribed on that notion. So that was another change, in public policy. There is also an emphasis on inclusion, and also they introduce standards of quality to measure the learning, the academic outcomes of students. Yeah, I will skip this because we can talk about that later. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Emma, for the presentation. I think we should take a break now. I suggest that we meet each other back at 7:30, if that's okay. So, and I invite also the students, perhaps during the break, to think of a couple of questions you would like to ask Enma. So enjoy the break, and we see each other within 9 minutes. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. So it's time for some questions, at least if there are any, but I assume there are lots of things that we can discuss. As I explained in the beginning, so after the questions, we will take some time in small groups to think about these comparative insights. But I would like to invite the students now to raise your hands um, and ask questions for further information, for clarification, points of discussion, you name it. Now it's silence. Okay, Michi.
Yes, for the permanent appointment for teachers, you talked about Sir Maestro test, which you said was very hard. Does that mean there are very few permanent appointed teachers, or?
Yeah, it's difficult. Well, I have to add something. Thank you for your question. It's difficult because, well, it's competitive, but